Hello and welcome to another episode of The Living Philosophy. Today we are revisiting the underworld of dreams, and I had a very powerful dream last night. It was a warning dream, and probably one of the clearest ones I've ever had in terms of hey, steady on. So thought it'd be interesting to share that, how dreams can communicate with us, and how you can actually feel like there is something going on there, like there is something being said, at least some of the time that you can understand. And one way actually in which I know that this is clear is the fact that I could remember it. And that might sound a bit unusual, but generally what can happen with dreams is I'll wake up in the morning, I'll remember the dream, and I'll say to myself, I'm just remembering the dream before I write it down, and I'll doze off a bit. And, I'll wake up and I'll still have a snippet of it, but I'll have lost most of it in that little moment of lying to myself. But what happened this morning was that I woke up, I did that, but when I woke up fully, the dream was still perfectly there. Which is unusual for that to happen and for the dream to still be perfectly clear. So there was that, and then when I was writing it down, I was like, oh, this is about something. So I thought we'd explore that today, and just it's a good scheme of understanding. It's a good example for understanding my aspect or my perspective on the dream world and seeing how the dream world speaks to you. So I hope you enjoy it, and let's dive right in. I'll recount the dream first of all, and then we can go through the details. So I could read it off, but it's still very clear in my mind, so I'll give as much of it as possible, just going through it. So I was in a mix between Liverpool and Limerick. Limerick is where I'm from. The way in which it was Liverpool is because it was Anfield Stadium, and yet not at all Anfield Stadium. I've never been to Anfield Stadium, but it wasn't. It was a courtyard instead of a football pitch in the middle. So I trying to get away from it seems, and then I end up going through it, and I go through the courtyard, and then when I come out the front door, my friend Gavin is there, and well, it's a mix between Gavin and like a security guard, and he's kind of pointing me in a certain direction. But before that, I noticed that I'm looking around, and I noticed Thomond Park, and Thomond Park would be the main rugby stadium of Limerick. The main stadium of Limerick is like this actual, because the rugby team Munster, which is our province, is actually very successful and quite actually competitive in Europe, which is unusual for anything coming out of Ireland in terms of sports, because we have such low population density. But yeah, so there's that stadium, I see it over there, so even though I'm in Liverpool, there's some kind of mix with Limerick. And anyway, my friend Gavin, he points me over this way, and he says, oh, you should go that way, there's a nice kind of path out that way. So I'm like, okay, yeah, so I go for it, and I run across the road, but it's like I'm running through molasses. This happens to me sometimes in dreams, that it feels like I'm just not running at the pace that I know I can go at, and it's frustrating. But anyway, I get across the road, and the path that he's pointed me to is this probably like 10-12 foot kind of streak between the two lanes. So it's kind of like a raised, it's not quite a footpath, but it's a path with some trees along it, and it's between the two lanes of the road going either direction. So I kind of go, and I'm jogging along that route, that little road between the roads, and after a while I come to this kind of statue, this kind of a monument, and I notice at the bottom of the monument is the swastika, and I'm like, oh, this is strange, and it's kind of like a boundary stone, I guess. So I keep going on past it, or I run on past it, and it kind of curves around, and I come into another courtyard. So the first courtyard was in the centre of Anfield Stadium, was that it was just like a building with a courtyard. And so I come into this new courtyard, and I go over to the other side, and I'm wading through water that's up to my hips, and I go up these steps and into this kind of dank kind of it reminded me of like a room in a barn or an outhouse, just very it's not fit for living in for humans, and it's more like a dank, cold, old stone kind of building. And in here is my friend Jean, and Jean is someone that I know. She was a Mormon missionary, a Mormon sister, when she was doing her mission, and me and my friend Bran met her and another sister, and we used to just go, and me and Bran would be chatting about spirituality, about Taoism, and kind of like, they'd be teaching us Mormonism, and we'd be taking those ideas, kind of like do with this podcast or with the other podcast, and we'd just take those ideas and we'd warp them around, and we'd play with them, and we'd see how we can connect them into other religions or other spiritualities or other philosophies. So we actually got quite close to them, quite connected to them, and I'm still in contact with her now, or just through Facebook messaging. She's back in Utah. But anyway, so she's in this room, and it's a dank sort of room, and she says she's living here, and she says the thing is, though, that you can never get warm in here. It's always damp. The energy is always like cold. And she says that's because Hitler was born here. And I was just like, whoa, wow, okay. Actually, that was probably my reaction more when I woke up in the dream. I was like, oh yeah. And she's saying how she wants to kill herself. And it's not like that would be in real life. It's not like, oh wow, that's a heavy topic. It's just like, that's just like something that someone said, like, oh, I'm doing this thing, and she's looking for a bit of help. So the way she wants to commit suicide is by buying a load of hamburgers or cheeseburgers or some fast food from the McDonald's or Burger King or whatever that's down in the square. And I'm like, oh, how much do you need? So I'm evaluating in my mind what the cost of this is going to be. And she's saying like, oh, I don't know if she actually tells me, but it's around like a $5 in my mind. So I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And so my friend Bran is there as well, who I would have gone to see the Mormon missionaries with in real life. And he kind of looks at me like, what's wrong with you? Like, as if he's clocked the genuine situation, which is that, this girl is talking about killing herself, and I'm talking about funding it. And so he's kind of like, what the hell? And I kind of turn back to her and I go, yeah, okay, yeah, maybe listen, I got to think about this for a couple of weeks, and then I'll come back to you. And so the dream transitions, and then I'm at this kind of a crossroad, and you can either go straight on or you can go up to the right. And my friend Bran is there, and he's saying that he's kind of changed his mind. He's not telling me that he's changed his mind, but he's now saying, we should help her or something. And I'm like, no. So our positions have kind of flipped, and I'm like, no. And I say to him, I'm just horrified by the thought of seeing her dead body floating down the river. Like, that would be heartbreaking for me. And so that's the end of the dream. So, really weird dream, obviously. Very strange, very strong imagery. When the Nazis are coming up, it's going to be a weird dream. So, there's a lot going on, and I'm not going to unpack it down to, like, the last symbol, but just the overarching story of what's going on there. So, what I've kind of figured out from chatting to my friend about it and thinking about it this morning, doing a little journaling. So, I think what's going on with this dream is connected into something that was happening yesterday. So I've had a quiet week with YouTube. I've made the videos every day, but I haven't really had like a hit until last night. So I didn't really have a lot of views coming in, and I was just getting that kind of like I guess that dopamine low. Like I just knew I wasn't getting what I wanted, and so I couldn't help but starting to have those doubts fermenting in me. And so I guess it was just time to, and I guess that was what was on my mind over the last few days. And then I've been reading some Nietzsche, and I think that's kind of what set me off. And I think that's what's prefigured the dream that is to come. And the other thing, it could be that I shared a video last night on Reddit, and it got a lot of views, and it's gotten the most views that I've ever gotten in a video. So it could have been that, and the feeling of following that path, which was, philosophy and pre-Socratics, and kind of going towards that more than towards making videos about dreams. So that could be one side of things. It could have been the fact of the path that I was following and what was working out for me last night. Or it could be, and I think it's more prefigured by this Nietzschean sentiment. So I'll have a read of what Nietzsche's saying here, just so you can get an idea of what was going through my mind. So this is aphorism 212 of Beyond Good and Evil, the Walter Kaufman translation if you want to read along. And it goes like this. More and more it seems to me that the philosopher, being of necessity a man of tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, has always found himself, and had to find himself, in contradiction to his today. His enemy was ever the ideal of today. So far all these extraordinary furtherers of man whom one calls philosophers, though they themselves have rarely felt like friends of wisdom, but rather like disagreeable fools and dangerous question marks, have found their task, their hard, unwanted, inescapable task, but eventually also the greatness of their task, in being the bad conscience of their time. By applying the knife vivisectionally to the chest of the very virtues of their time, they betrayed what was their own secret, to know of a new greatness of man, of a new untrodden way to his enhancement. Every time they exposed how much hypocrisy, comfortableness, letting oneself go and letting oneself drop, how many lies lay hidden under the best honoured type of their contemporary morality, how much virtue was outlived. Every time they said, we must get there, that way, where you, today, are least at home. So that's, I don't know about you, but I find that positively intoxicating. And Nietzsche kind of has this effect on me when he speaks of the philosophers and of greatness, and he's kind of got the arm around your shoulder, and you're like, yeah, I can be that. I'm the philosopher of tomorrow. So that's always, ever since I first read Nietzsche, that's intoxicated me. Those ideas, and I find Thus Spoke Zarathustra a dangerous book in that sense, because I feel like it fuels me in a direction that maybe is not the best for me to go. And so what I was reading this, and I was thinking, okay, YouTube channel not going so good, maybe I need to do a pivot because I'm not getting a lot of views. And so I was thinking, maybe I'll just go on a social justice kind of tirade, because I find the social justice kind of scene a bit like it's over the top. There's too much emotion in it, and while I think that there's a positive momentum in there's something positive in the way it's trying to remake the world, the energy leaking out of it as people are moving towards that is just repulsive. And so I'm certainly on the side of taming that energy a bit. I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson and kind of like poking holes in the excessiveness of it, even though I do think it's bringing the world in a more positive direction, and I think that there is a raising of consciousness there. So I do think there's a beautiful baby in the bathwater, but there's a lot of foulness in the bathwater. So I was kind of thinking with this, well, maybe I could just take out some of those more toxic elements and just start making videos about that and start responding to that kind of stuff and get involved in the culture wars, because with the culture wars of this left versus right, there's so much emotion flying around it. Truly, I see the war of the gods in our time happening in these culture wars. And so I thought, well, why not get out there with a surfboard and ride that wave of excessive emotions and try and keep that balanced philosophical view, and I can do some good in the world. I can maybe start nudging things in a certain direction, and probably I will get some kind of traction as well with the channel and all that. So this is kind of what was going through my mind. I don't like, it's obviously not the greatest plan, but that's what Nietzsche had kind of fueled with that talk of greatness, with that talk of being the bad conscience of your time, of pushing against the morality of your time and trying to move it up to another level. So not, as he says, it's important not that they're looking back, but that they're looking away. And so to find another way and to disengage from the crowd and to try and steer things another way. So this is the kind of thoughts that Nietzsche always intoxicates me with. And so that's what was going on. And okay, now you're probably wondering, how the hell does that relate to the dream? So let's bring it back here. I think that, okay, the path that my friend pointed me towards, and I move in that direction, and at first I'm frustrated by how slow I'm moving, and you can see that with the channel. I'm frustrated by how fast it's growing or how slow it's growing. I just had a slow week, and so those doubts start to come up. And so initially I'm just thinking, oh my god, I'm moving so slowly. And so I follow that path down. I get on the path and I'm moving that direction. And at a certain point, I come across this monument, like a boundary stone upon which there is a swastika. And the room, so I come to the courtyard, I wade through the water, I go up to the room, and there my friend Jean is living in this room, which is where Hitler was born. And the energy, it's cold, it's damp, and you just can't get comfortable there because the remnants of that energy of Hitler. And so I kind of connecting this over with what I was thinking about in terms of the social justice thing, because Hitler was an INFJ as well. I'm an INFJ, and I think what could happen. You think of this room, the fact that it's so uncomfortable. If I went along that path and I went into this kind of social justice, getting involved in the culture wars, I feel like it would be like that. It'd be like that room. You could never get warm there. There would always be that coldness of energy, and it's because of that is the birthplace of Hitler. Now, the birthplace of Hitler, I can connect that over with just the feeling of you would never be comfortable there, for a start. Let's just take the dankness of the room. You would never be comfortable there because it's so cold, it's so damp, it's so constantly uncomfortable, and I feel like that's what it must be like being Jordan Peterson or being someone that's involved in the culture wars, that it's just, there's a constant feeling of discomfort. I'd say ContraPoints has that as well on the other side, and I know that she gets a lot of abuse as well. So it's anyone who's involved in the culture wars in any bit seems to get this energy drawn towards them. It must be a great discomfort to have to live in that constant state of sympathetic nervous system activation and to constantly be on your defense. So I feel like that's what the discomfort of that room is talking about. And then you look at the Hitler aspect, and I wonder that, like, Hitler, an INFJ, and obviously the boy had problems, but he got intoxicated with that energy. He picked up on a vibe in the crowd, and with our extroverted feeling, INFJs are very good at turning that up and really tuning in and harmonizing with people and mapping that over with our internal intuitive worlds. And so I feel like that's the birthplace of Hitler, that they can turn up that energy, that they can feed on that mob energy, and they can really kind of galvanize it. And I think the dream has deliberately chosen a very extreme kind of energy there, the Nazi energy, the swastika energy, but also because it maps over. Hitler picked up on the crowd energy, and it was the non-progressive crowd energy. So you look at what was going on in Germany at the time. There was the Weimar Republic, and that Weimar Republic was very progressive. It was it was a republic compared to being an imperial thing, or the whatever National Socialism was, fascism. So it was a republic, and it was for the people, and I guess there was a kind of a conciliation there, like, oh, we'll pay back everything that our predecessors did wrong in World War I, so we will have these payments going back to you. And so there was that kind of conciliatory gestures going on with the Weimar Republic. So you could see that maybe as being a progressive kind of politics versus what Hitler is, which is the counter energy. And that counter energy we see going on in Trumpian kind of support, in the Brexit kind of support a few years ago, and the rise of populism. You see this energy of the backlash, of pushing back against that progressive energy. And maybe it's, again, you can say it's because of the energy that's in the social justice, but there's just so much emotion flying around that you get these reactions going back and forth, and you look at both sides and you're like, I don't feel comfortable with either of these really. But anyway, so like looking back at Hitler, you can see that, and I think my dream was just like, you could become like Hitler. So, obviously that's not what I want to do. So, using an extreme example to get my attention, and that is further backed up by this girl, by this character. So Jean in real life she's this paragon of innocence, and she's just a lovely person. She's really just pure and good. And Nietzsche talks about how it takes many generations to make a great person. But I see that with the Mormons, to be that level of good and innocent in not necessarily just naive, but like innocent in looking at the world with really the innocent archetype. So if you want to look at my video on the innocent and the orphan archetype, it's that archetype of the innocent, looking at the world as if it's an inherently good and friendly place. And so in the dream, it's like she's going to kill herself, and it's this aspect, this inner aspect of me, this purity, this innocence, this looking at the world in a positive way, that's going to kill itself. And I'm asking what the cost is. I'm asking, can I help you? How much is it going to cost me for you to do that, to help you to do that? So I'm looking at the cost. That's what I'm evaluating in that conversation with her. I'm asking her, well, how much is it going to cost? And she's talking about going to fast food to do it. And fast food is an interesting symbol there as well, because fast food is looking for instant sustenance. It's looking for hollow calories in some way. It's just looking for something to satisfy the hunger, and map that over with my hunger this past week for a bit more views, to get that dopamine rush. So I was looking for a bit more energy and sustenance there. So yeah, I was looking to, that's by moving towards this idea of getting involved in the culture wars. That's me kind of going towards fast food. I'm looking for fast hits. I'm looking for some kind of just a dopamine kick, getting involved, getting comments, inciting kind of an energetic and passionate reaction either way. And I just think that is the thing that kills her, is going towards that cultural energy, going towards that culture war energy that would give those hollow calories. That's what kills her. And so it seems that it's my friend Bran who brings me to my senses in some way. And he's someone he's actually the person that I worked on the dream with today. And he's the person that would always, I talk about dreams with him a lot, and much closer to soul. And we'd go to see the Mormon missionaries as well, and we'd talk to them about religion and spirituality. So I guess he's that kind of in the dream, he's kind of symbolizing that spiritual kind of anchor, that spiritual, shake me out of it, and kind of been like, hey, this is a tall price. And so yeah, so he kind of makes me realize, oh yeah, okay, so yeah, maybe that's the wrong path. And then the dream switches. So I say to her 2 weeks. I don't know why 2 weeks. I guess New Year. It's New Year in 2 weeks, something like that, or yeah, something. That's something I don't fully understand. But the dream transitions then, and there's a path straight on, and there's a path to the right. So it's kind of like a crossroads. I can keep going straight on as I am, or I can take the right way. And the right way in real life, this road leads towards a lake, and that's where I've been doing the cold swimming every week now into December. So it's getting very cold. So that's a thing of like mind over matter, and strengthening my mind, strengthening my body kind of thing. So it's that kind of, there's a challenge that way. And yeah, so that's an interesting kind of symbol there, because it's the right way. And I feel like that's how I feel about this dream path, where I don't know how to reach people with dreams. I don't know where the audience, how do you find that niche with dreams, but it's something that is so close to my soul, and that's something that I really want to follow. And yeah, I guess it's just in the dream then, I kind of say to him, no, I'm not going to do it. And I tell him I'm haunted by this image of her floating down the river, dead. And that kind of reminds me of Ophelia, floating down the river dead in Hamlet. And just that loss of innocence, I guess. And it was just so heartbreaking to me at the end of the dream that I was like, oh, I don't want to lose that. And so I guess that's a sort of a resolution. Like, I woke up and I was like, whoa, this is okay, yeah. And I guess I knew, okay, I don't want to follow that path. That's a bad direction that's not the direction I want to go. And then there's dreams is another way to go. And yeah, I guess it's a tough road. It's like the cold water swimming. I don't know if I'll make it through the winter. It's an arduous task, but it might be well worth the reward. That's the right way. So that might be that, or else I can just keep going as I'm going, which is going pretty well as well. Now that I had a good dopamine injection last night, I actually feel pretty good. So yeah, there's those kind of strains going on, and I guess that's the overarching thing that I see as going on in the dream there. That you've got this, on the one hand, you've got the the Hitler aspect and that connecting over with the social justice theme, or the culture wars theme. And then on the other hand, you've got the gene aspect of like innocence and purity and an innocent outlook on the world. So you've got those kind of things coming into play there. And I think that's really what the dream is about. It's a warning. And the dream is warning me, don't follow this path. Go a different way. You're killing some sort of innocence, and you will never be able to rest comfortable in that room where you will be putting yourself. That is the place to birth Hitler's, because Hitler is born out of that tumultuous, tempestuous cultural energy, I guess. And I guess that's what it's telling me. So it's to stay away from that. So yeah, I guess that's everything that I wanted to cover today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode on dreams. And if you have, please subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. Anything you've got to throw out there, whether it's your own dreams or whether it's some comment, something I missed, or something that really fascinated you there. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please subscribe, as I said, if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And thanks you for watching. I shall see you next time.